Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Android Weekly / Android Q&A, where we answer all of your questions live. First thing we do is always go over the weekly news, then we go over the questions that were emailed to me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com. Once we're done with that, we move on to the comment section where we answer all of your questions live. So if you're watching live, make sure to start leaving your questions down below. And if you're not watching live, make sure to email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail and make sure your subject is question. All right, let's jump into the first topic of the week, which is Samsung is now using dual cameras for their device for next year. This is really big for one specific reason. There's one thing that has long been coveted in cell phones that we do not have yet, but we have had in normal cameras for a long time, and that is zoom. Dual cameras can offer this type of technology built in. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people originally thought HTC was going to do with their dual cameras, but they never did. So dual cameras can do this. They can basically offer optical zoom in a very slender design. Now, this will most likely cause the phone to be a little bit thicker, but not too much, and still allow it to zoom, which is fairly impressive. It's something that the company is currently working on for dual cameras, and it's something that it will definitely be the biggest feature that Samsung could bring for next year's, I'm guessing, S7. So yes, it's definitely a great thing, and I can't wait for it. Now, in other news, Sony, let's close this ad, announced their Z4. It's a 5.2-inch device. And let's get to some of the specifics. Actually, first, let's take a look at it. So it is going to be very interesting in terms of its look. It's kind of the same old though, and that's what a lot of people have said. It's what we had last year, just a redesign, just basically a little slight upgrade. And that's what I'm curious if you guys think that that's true as well. Is this just a slight upgrade from the Z3? And we can see that with what it has inside. So you do have an IP68 device again, so it can go in water up to 6 feet. It's 5.08 ounces, which is decent. It's not the thinnest one out there, but it's definitely a really thin phone. So the average is, as it shows here, about 4.9. So it's about medium in terms of weight. Where it really stands out is it is a thin phone, so it's as thin as the iPhone 6 at 6.9 millimeters, but again, it's that just squared edges that kind of detracts from it. So it is going to be a 1080p display with a 5.2-inch screen. You have a 424 pixels per inch. It's an IPS screen still. I would really expect Sony to start getting on the OLED technology on their phones. I think that's one thing that would really help them. It's going to offer the 20.7 camera. Where is it upgrading from last year? Well, that's really the question. On the front-facing camera, we have 5 megapixels now, and the Snapdragon 810 processor, along with 32 gigs of built-in storage. So that is the main parts of it, besides having the 29, now 30 milliamp battery. So that's the Xperia Z4. What do you guys think of it? I'm pretty interested, but I don't know. As far as we know, this might not even be coming to the US at this point, so which is very discouraging. And in other news, Samsung confirms that their new smartwatch will basically be called the Gear W, which we got from a Bluetooth certification earlier this week. And then we got this little gem came up, which shows you that they are trying to get developers for circular designs. So we already have Yelp, we have CNN, we have FidMe, which I'm not sure what that is, and these other two, which I'm unaware of, at least at this point. But I'm really curious to see if how developers will do for it. We know Samsung has over 1,000 apps, But say, for instance, the Apple Watch had over 3,000. So it's definitely different in terms of what we might expect. And then we move on to the Galaxy Tab A. So this tablet was announced, and okay, let me get to first the specifications and everything, and then we'll talk about my big issue with this tablet, even though we will be reviewing it next week. The display is a 9.7-inch screen. It's 1024 by 768. Front camera is 2 megapixels, rear camera is 5 megapixels. Battery life is about 12 hours, which is really good for battery. And the Tab A8, so there is a 9.7-inch and there is an 8-inch. The specifications will be the same, except for the battery life is 10 hours instead of the 12 hours for the 9.7. And the screen will be the same resolution for some reason, but we'll get into that in a second. So it's going to be $299 for the 9.7-inch model, and it's going to be $229 for the 8-inch model. As you can see, they're not too far off from each other, but they do come in 3 different colors. And so $229 versus $299. And here's the thing. You're going to have a 9.7-inch with a S Pen coming in at $349 in May, which we heard about last week when they announced it. So what do you think my problem is? It's right here. So if any of you guys want to hashtag Samsung on this one is one of my big problems. There will never be an Android tablet that is successful at a 4:3 aspect ratio. Never going to happen. Never. It's just not going to happen. So the Galaxy Tab A is the same aspect ratio as an iPad. Now, I'm guessing they're trying out this to see if, oh, well, maybe it'll work. Maybe, this aspect ratio will work. I guarantee you the problems are coming right now for Samsung that they don't even realize yet. Because this aspect ratio is not made for any app on the Android ecosystem. Not one app is made for a 4:3 ratio. You know how I know? Because that's the reason the Nexus 9 bombed. That's the reason the Nexus 9 was not successful. That's the reason the Acer tablet that was a 4:3 aspect ratio. That's the reason why the HP tablets were aspect ratio 4:3. The reason why none of them have worked, and there will never be one that works, is because Android is made for a 16:9 to 16:10 aspect ratio. That's it. There's no middle ground there. That's what it's made for. It's on every tablet, every phone. So I ask you, if I'm a developer, why would I make the code that I need to realign to this new aspect ratio just for this tablet? I wouldn't. That's correct. That's why no tablet will ever be successful at a 4:3 ratio. Period. On Android, it does not work. And it makes no sense for developers to make apps that work for it. If you want to see how bad the apps looked, take a look at my gaming review or anything I did on the Nexus 9. But the gaming review is where it stood out. Not one game fit perfectly on that 4:3 aspect ratio on the tablet. And guess what? They're not going to start now. That was a Nexus device, by the way, which is the easiest to code for. There is no tablet that's easier to code for than a Nexus device, obviously, yet I couldn't do it. So that is your lack of marketing and market research into this field. You're trying to go for a 4:3 ratio. It will not work on Android. And Samsung will learn this. And it's an unfortunate feature that this cannot work. It just can't. It's not designed for it. And that's it. So yes, that is my big pet peeve with it. And you can see it clear as day that this is a 4:3 ratio aspect tablet. And I mean, you'll see it. We'll go over it. We're going to review it. It comes out on the 1st. So we'll be reviewing it indefinitely, and we're going to check it out every which way. But yes, that is the biggest pet peeve with this tablet. It is a 4:3 ratio aspect, which is not designed for Android. And it annoys me to no end that they did that. All right, moving on to Samsung's better features. If you haven't realized yet, Samsung is killing it in the processor market. They made an amazing processor, which is a 14 nanometer processor. And Qualcomm is now leaving their Taiwanese semiconductor company in order to actually move away from this and have Samsung make now their chips as well. So Samsung is going to be making every processor on cell phones. Think about that. Every smartphone is going to now have a Samsung made processor. From Apple to Samsung to now Qualcomm as well. So pretty much everything out there. I mean, there are a few Intel processor tablets. There are a few MediaTek processor devices as well, but nothing on the scale of, sales. No device that has ever done a lot of sales on Android has ever been one of those two processors. It's always been Qualcomm. Apple, of course, is going to drive a lot of sales continuously, and now Samsung switched to their own processor for their devices. So it's a really good and bad, because we're going to really see one manufacturer take over the entire processing market. So it's kind of going to be what Intel did in the computer ecosystem, where it was one main competitor, or sorry, one main company, and then competitors such as AMD is their main rival, get certain devices, which Intel actually is becoming the secondary one here. And so will MediaTek. We'll see how they play out in the end, but really it's coming from now Samsung is going to be making every processor. So it's a really big move for Samsung. They're literally going to dominate the processor market for cell phones. And this is one thing that I've said for a long time, is that Samsung is very smart in one aspect. They divulge more money to research and development than any other tech company by far. They do it more than Apple. They do it more than Google. They do it more than any other company. And this is where it's paying off, that now they are literally going to take over the entire processor market in the world for cell phones. So remember how I talked about that Tab A few seconds ago? Well, guess what? Samsung's Tab S2 is going to be the thinnest tablet ever, coming in at 5.5 millimeters. That is thinner than any other tablet to date. But there is a problem, and that is that so far it seems that these dimensions are going to line up with a 4:3 aspect ratio, which we just learned is horrible. My guess is this is what's going to happen. The Tab A will not sell well. Then when it doesn't sell well, what's going to happen is that the Tab S2 will be delayed, and then they're going to fix it and create the correct aspect ratio. Again, this is what I'm predicting. We'll see if it comes to fruition. But yes, this is what I predict will happen. All right, that was the questions, that was the articles for the week. Now let's get to the questions of the week. And our first question comes from Calvin. Now, Calvin, you asked, I have a Galaxy S5 and a Kindle HDX 8.9. Within a few weeks, I'm going to be getting the Tab S 10.5. Trading in my Kindle, I was wondering if I can use an OTG cable to transfer over everything from my S5 and my Kindle HDX to the Tab S. What would be the best OTG cable to buy with the Tab S? So, a couple of things here. An OTG cable by default is only going to transfer over photos. That's the way Google does it. Now, there are third-party apps to do this as well, but just by default, that's what it's for. My suggestion, actually, Calvin, would be not necessarily to get an OTG cable, but to use something called Samsung Smart Switch. Now, Samsung Smart Switch can be used on any Samsung device, so you can immediately use it with your S5 and transfer over everything to your Tab 10.5 from everything you have, from your pictures, your documents, your movies, everything on your device, your Wi-Fi connections, your wallpapers, everything. contacts, all that kind of stuff. So everything will transfer over. And it uses Wi-Fi Direct, so it does about 1 gig per minute. So it's extremely fast. Here's the problem. Your Kindle HDX doesn't have Smart Switch, and you can't get it from the Amazon App Store. So what my suggestion would be is actually to use this same technology, but you're going to Google Smart Switch APK. This was about the second search that came up, and this was APK for fun, and this is the latest version of Smart Switch. So I would install this on your Kindle HDX right here, install, and then your Kindle will be able to transfer everything to your new tablet as well. Now, if you still want to use an OTG cable, my recommendation, which I was seeing if I had it here, but I do not, I really need to clean my desk, is going to be Samsung's OTG cable, which it's a well-built cable, and I've used it for years now, and it's been great ever since. So I recommend using that. It's Samsung's OTG cable. It costs about 20 bucks on their website, but you can get on Amazon for like 10 bucks or 11 bucks. So that's what I recommend getting. It's a sturdy cable. I've used it for a long time, and it does allow things like power and everything like that to be transferred over using it. So when I've actually used it before, it even will transfer over power from my tablet to my phone with that OTG cable. So it'll take power from my tablet and it'll give it to my phone. So I've found that to be a really good added feature. So yes. All right, now we're going to move on to the next question, which comes from Jesus. So Jesus Jones asks, how do I get ad blocker on my non-rooted Note 4 with Chrome, Firefox, or basic Android internet app, whichever is easiest to do it on? So it is not easy to do it on Chrome without root. So that's one part of that, or one piece of that. So the next part will come from how to get it. So I actually, believe it or not, have never used an ad blocker for Android. I use it on my Chrome internet, actually, on my web browser for my computer, but I just never needed to really use it. I don't know. I usually buy apps that just don't have ads. So, but if you are finding this obviously frustrating, the top one is Ad Blocker Plus, which you just go to their website, which is adblockerplus.org, and then you go to installation and install, plain and simple. However, there are other ad blockers. In nowhere here did it say that it's going to be available for just non-rooted devices. But just in case it is, there is this other one right here, which is called No Root Ad Remover. And these are the top 5 ad blockers. Again, Ad Blocker Plus is the top rated one, but I had heard before that it was required rooting, but on here it said nothing about requiring rooting anymore. If it does, though, this one seems the one to go with. No Root Ad Remover, which just is free starting off, but if you want to use it for blocking more than 2 ads, then you do have to pay the $4 for the full app, which is great to never have ads again on your phone. There's also other ones out there called Ad Vanish Pro and Trust Go Ad Detector, and finally AppBrain Ad Detector. I'm not a big fan of AppBrain, so I would personally not use theirs, but I would probably go for the first 2. So either Ad Blocker Plus, or sorry, Ad Block Plus, or No Root Ad Remover Lite. Let me know in the comment section if any of you guys have used these, and if you've had any issues with them. I would be very curious to find that out. All right, Christine. Christine, you gave me a big email, and the gist of it is this. She has had, she uses her Galaxy S5 and her Nexus 7 to, travel and keep documents on there, as well as listen to music and read books, or listen to books. I'm not sure if it's the read you're using to hear the books to you, the books are read to you. And unfortunately, she has been very, very disappointed with Lollipop on the Nexus 7. Basically, it's a very slow device now. So it takes 5 to 7 minutes to find Wi-Fi, 2 to 3 minutes to load everything, and 4 to 2 minutes to boot up, which is insane. Tech support from Google apparently told her that, oh, well, it's the apps, it's Facebook and Intensify, and all these need to upgrade to catch up to Lollipop. Um, I think that's crazy, is what she said, and I agree. And now she's horrified because Lollipop wants to be installed on a Galaxy S5, and she's afraid to have all these issues. Um, so her questions were, what should she do? And second question is, if there's a terrible problem like this, why isn't a bigger immediate issue? Of course, Google that would force Google to fix the problem. And you wanted me to help understand this. So yes, Lollipop has been actually one of the most frustrating updates in recent memory, with the last version of it, especially. The last versions of Lollipop have been very frustrating and have had so many issues. My girlfriend has a Galaxy S5 and has upgraded to Lollipop. She doesn't like the look of it, but other than that, it's caused no issues. However, she's in the minority. A lot of people have had issues with the update to Lollipop on Samsung S5 and Note 4. Now, your specific Nexus 7 issues are very concerning because it shouldn't be going through this. And so one of the biggest features one of the biggest things I would recommend doing is using an app called Helium. What Helium does is it backs up your device and backs up all your apps onto your computer. Once they're on your computer, it might be a cost app. I'm not sure. I did it for my girlfriend a long time ago because she wanted to back up her device and not lose any of her games or content or saves and everything like that. So I found this app for her. And I believe I have done a video on it, but it was a very long time ago if I did. So search Helium on my channel. I'll actually try to do that for you right now, actually, just to see if I did. And let me see. Sorry, going into it. But so this will back up, and then what I recommend you doing with your Nexus 7 is factory resetting it, which you told me tech support allowed you to clear your cache and clear data on the apps themselves, but not necessarily reset your device. So if you have done this already, that would be the only solution that I can think of right off the bat. And I don't remember seeing that on your email, although it was a longer email, so I do apologize if I did not see it. But that is one thing that I recommend for it. No, so I did not do a video on it, or back up maybe. How to back up your Android device. So I do have a video on how to back up your Android tablet. I'm hoping that that's it, but that was 3 years ago. So my guess is it's not actually. I will probably need to do a new video on this because it is a good video to help out and make sure that people understand how to back up their device if they don't have that kind of software like Samsung Keys or LG's backup software or any of the other ones. So yes, but that is a problem. And Christina, you said why aren't more people aware of this? Well, here's the thing: people are aware of it, but it's unfortunately, you have to understand these issues come from not only Google but from Apple too. Apple's past OS updates have been horrible, and people are talking about flickering screens to crashing to all these different things. The problem is when you have a duopoly, only Google and Apple are the only two OSs on the market. It's really troublesome because then you have to kind of just wait it out. I mean, you can't really do too much more than what you can. And so this is the issue. Again, I wouldn't, if you can delay the update to Lollipop, I wouldn't recommend it right now for the S5. Maybe when they push out a new one. I'm not sure what carrier you have the S5 on either. But that's going to be some of the issues that have come up, is make sure that you have those issues taken care of first from the manufacturer. And I'll tell you, if you email me again in a couple weeks, if there has been another update that fixes the issues on Lollipop, I'll make sure to let you know. Make sure your Nexus is also up to date and it does have the latest version, which I'm sure tech support went over with you, but make sure it is up to date as well, so that we can make sure that you have the latest update and at least that. Now, this is what happens to fix the issues. That's why you have versions like Android 5.0.2. The 0.1 caused issues, so the 0.2 fixed those issues. That's what software updates are for, and that's why it's always recommended to update all, not only to the latest version if the other versions had issues, but to make sure to update all of your apps as well. All of your apps should be updated from the Google Play Store as well. And that's what the tech support lady probably didn't really explain well, but what definitely is the issue. All right, let me move to the next questions pretty quickly. Wildemir ask, I have a G2 from AT&T version. Every time I want to perform a software update, your phone is not registered. I have the phone. I'm using a SIM, GoSmart SIM, in there because the device is unlocked. So this is one of the very little well-known features about, unfortunately, having an unlocked device. You can't update the software. Software push updates come from not the manufacturer, but from the carrier that you're with. So if you have an AT&T unlocked device, you're not getting updates. You're not getting them. So that's one of the big things that most people don't know about with these devices. That definitely is true, that you do not get the updates if you unlock your phone and you go to another carrier. Now, are there ways around this? Yes, but you have to be very tech savvy and know it yourself. You basically have to manually update the device, which is going to XDA developers and doing it that way. If you're not techie, if you don't know about rooting and that kind of stuff, I wouldn't recommend it. But unfortunately, that is one of the downsides, that when you get a phone from a carrier and then you unlock it, that's what happens. All right, and last, Dgraham ask, hello, I have a T-Mobile 5S, Galaxy S5, I think is what he meant to put. How do I change the lock screen keyboard to a quart number touchpad? So this actually question has come up a couple of times, and I want to clarify this. So when you have a full keyboard, that is a password. When you have just the numbers, that's called a PIN. So what you want to do is, instead of having a password, you want to have a PIN lock screen. The PIN will only be the number QWERTY keyboard, and then you're able to, or not QWERTY, the PIN will be just the keyboard for numbers, the number pad, and then you'll be able to do that. All right, guys, that was the questions that were emailed to me during the week. Now we're going to go over all of the questions in the comment section down below. Hud Zap asks, yo, man, what's up? Hey, yo, man. Or hey, man, what's up? Sorry, it's late night. I help someone move, very drained. Dippin' Sauce asks, could dual cameras also make 3D? Absolutely, dual cameras can make 3D. There was a phone that did that a couple of years back. What am I thinking of? The HTC 3D, actually, or Evo 3D. The HTC Evo 3D did do that. So yes, there can be phones that do that. Yeah, I don't like 4x3 either. Hi, the S5 Duos or A7. My friend needs a dual SIM phone. Both SIMs need internet connection. Which phone do you recommend? Are there any better phones out there on the market to consider? The S5 Duos is one of the better ones. The A7 is just more premium design, but it's not as let me actually compare I would say I mean, I like the look and feel of the A7 more so, but the A5, the S5 Duos, I feel will get more support than the A7. But no, in terms of dual phones, there's not that many of them, unfortunately. So those are two of the best ones you can get right now, especially when you talk about quality in terms of camera and battery life. So yeah, those would be two of the ones I would recommend. For more updates, I would go with the S5 Duos and the A7. By the way, if you're wondering why I said updates on international phones, the manufacturer is the one that pushes out the updates. Only on international phones that are completely unlocked does that happen. Otherwise, it does go through the carrier. Danny Shin, why do you think Samsung's still doing 4x3 even though they know it won't work? Do you think they are aiming to change Apple iPad users to change over to Samsung by using 4x3? I'm assuming is what you meant. Yes, that is exactly what Samsung's doing, Danny. They are using a 4x3 aspect ratio because that's what Apple uses. So they're thinking, oh, well, we're just going to make a similar design, charge less money for it, and use this. The thing is for a $299 device, I could, for an Apple user, you can get an iPad mini for $299, and it's going to have a better resolution than this device itself. And I believe about the same cameras. So for an Apple user, this isn't going to change their mind. And that's, it's just a really sad fact that Samsung is trying this tactic to kind of do something different. This is the reason why they're calling it the Tab A, though, I believe, instead of the Tab 4, to kind of make a difference. Now, originally, the Tab A was supposed to be, an aluminum body device, supposed to be more premium. I guess that didn't pan out, and this is what we got. And I don't think that Samsung thinks the 4x3 ratio doesn't work. I think they haven't thought it through. And someone on their marketing side, or not necessarily their marketing side, sorry, someone on their product research side did not think this through and had never told the higher ups at Samsung, hey, this doesn't work. Our apps don't work for this. It looks bad. No one ever told them this, and unfortunately, because no one ever told them this, they're going to discover that firsthand. And yes, but yeah, again, they don't know this is work. This is done by this is telling you from a person that is an expert in this field that yes, I realize that these have not worked, and this is the reason why. Samsung, unfortunately, does not have an expert like me in their product, a product management side, and yes, that's the thing. How are the S6 and S6? How are the sales? I'm guessing for the S6 and the S6 Edge. Unfortunately, we do not have any official word on the S6 sales or S6 Edge sales. We've heard good things overall. In Korea, they were projected a little bit more and didn't match it up to it. That was reported last week. But overall, we will not hear anything until the first month. Samsung often promotes their sales as a month. So, for instance, last year they did 2 years ago they did 10 million in sales for the S4 in the first month, and the S5 did 11 million in sales in their first month. So we will see on the S6 and the S6 Edge how many sales they do in their first month. We will wait and see. But we are not there yet. We will wait till May 10th, and then we'll find out just how many sales Samsung did in their first month. Danny, I'm guessing, have you used Samsung Pay? Does it work enough to use it every day? Can you put gift cards, driver's license as well? So I have used something called Loop Pay. Loop Pay was the blueprint for Samsung Pay, and I really need to clean my desk because I had that somewhere here. But yes, Loop Pay is the where Samsung Pay gets its technology from, and I did use that. I was going to do a review on it, but it was very difficult to do a review on it without, unfortunately, having my credit card information up. So LoopPay.Phil did not hide that well, where Samsung Pay does. So here's the thing. I was able to use Loop Pay at every single market you can think of. So Ralph's, Vaughn's, I'm sure Albertsons would do. I don't have an Albertsons by me. Sprouts, all those places I was able to use it. I was also able to use it at every fast food place. So you're talking about, Jack in the Box, Carl's Jr., Starbucks, Chipotle. I was able to use it everywhere there. I was also able to use it everywhere, such as restaurants like Denny's, BJ's, and where else was I using it? I used it in a lot of places, basically. The only time it did ever not work was at a mom and pop restaurant that had a credit card swiper that was more than 10 years old. The thing about LoopPay was that it was awkward because no one knew about it. Here's the thing. With Samsung Pay, I'm sure Samsung, if they're smart, they will put a lot of marketing behind it. Because if they put a lot of marketing behind it, then everyone will know what it is and know how it works. In LoopPay, you could put gift cards. You could not put your driver's license, though. So I would still imagine you would have your driver's license with you, which you should anyway at all times. And you could be how LoopPay did it is they recommended you still take at least one credit card with you and driver's license. I would recommend the same thing. I would take at least one credit card and your driver's license, and everything else can be done with Samsung Pay. However, Samsung Pay is not yet available. It's going to be available at the end of May in Korea, and my guess is we'll see it in the US most likely in June or July. How often do people come up to you and ask you about the S6 Edge? People come up a little bit less now because the S6 Edge, is more well marketed, I would say. So people, you know more about the S6 Edge than the Note Edge. The Note Edge, people were like, "What the heck is that?" But yes, I have gotten some questions about the S6 Edge. It happens, I would say, again, less frequently than Note Edge because the S6 Edge is more popularized. People often ask me, like, how does it feel in the hand? Like, what can it do? And things like that. And I show them. I often get this even when, like, I go to pay for my bill at a T-Mobile. Like, they're like, "Hey, how do you do this?" And I'll show them that kind of stuff. So, yeah, always those kind of things are fun. But, yeah, that's mainly what I kind of get asked about is what can it do? How is it? And how does it feel? And things like that. Do you think the Note 5 will be built like the S6, no removable battery and SD card? So I answered this on last week's episode, everything about the S6, but I will reiterate it. The Note 5 is going to be based on the S6 sales. So if the S6 is selling like crazy, well, then guess what? Then they know the Note 5 can do the same thing and it's still going to sell. Now, if they get really strong feedback on not having a removable battery and SD card, then Samsung will adjust appropriately. My guess is Samsung has 2 or 3 Note 5s right now. And some of them have removable battery and SD card. Some of them don't. And they're going to see how this plays out based on that. And they'll start making them around August and making the components for them probably around July. But it's going to really come from, how this pans out for them, how this works for them. And if the sales are great, then look, people are fine with the non-removable battery and OSD card. I would say my guess is this, though. If you had to ask me what is the Note 5 going to have, I would say it's going to have non-removable battery and it will have a micro SD card slot. Because to be honest, I do not see the point of a removable battery on my S6 Edge. I have not been as disconcerted as the SD card. The SD card I do kind of miss still, although I'm just more careful with my storage now, I would say. I'm more cautious about it. Right now on my S6 Edge, I have about 53% used out of my 64 gigs. So I already have more than 32 used, but not quite at the full 64 yet. But that would be my guess. Is if I had a guess with all the feedback that the S6 is getting, my guess would be that it will have a non-removable battery, but it will have an SD card for the Note 5. That's my guess. What is the difference between the Galaxy S6 and Galaxy S6 Edge in terms of hardware? So I have done a video on this on what are the differences between the S6 and S6 Edge. Make sure to check that out. However, what's the difference in hardware? Well, there's only one difference in hardware, and that is the S6 Edge has a slightly bigger battery, 50 more milliamps, which I did tell on the video that gives you, because it's not really using the Edge screen as much, and it's really just the 50 more milliamps and how it works, it pans out to be about half an hour to an hour longer in terms of battery life compared to the S6. For the software features, though, make sure to check out that video, and I do go over all these software features, but that's the only hardware feature. How do I set up Google Drive to automatically transfer my pictures after I take a photo from my phone? So you don't use that with Google Drive, use that with Google Plus, and then Google Plus shows up on Google Drive. So that's how that works. So you set this up with Google Plus. I personally have set it up on mine, and I did do a video on this on how to back up your photos through Google Plus. So I have done a video on that, Chronos, although it's a very old video. I think it's about 2 years old. But the really nice part about this is you can back it up when you're only in Wi-Fi connection, as well as you can back it up when you're in Wi-Fi connection and charging. I do recommend the latter just because of the fact that it's a really great feature to have, and you never want to do it when you have a spotty internet connection because you just took some photos. Then Google Plus is trying to get the photos, and then they don't pan out, and then your gallery's slow, and then it causes a whole bunch of issues. So I only recommend using it when you have Wi-Fi connection, and just so it's not driving you crazy at home with your phone running slow because it's backing up, 100 photos you took. I would use it on Wi-Fi connection when it's plugged in. That's my recommendation. Are you getting the S View cover for the S6 Edge to do a review? I was looking so forward to the Clearview cover from Samsung, and then they decided not to come out with it, or delayed or whatever. I don't know what's the issue with it, but it's delayed. I wasn't going to do the S View cover originally, but I think I might. I don't know if I'll do it for the Edge. The Edge, though, I believe, does have an S View cover. I was just thinking about that. Does the Edge have an S View cover? I believe it does. I might do it. I would debate on probably which color to get, but it's not a bad idea. I might do that for the channel just to get an S View cover and just show you the functionality of it. But I believe it's about the same functionality. You can take a photo. You can, of course, answer your phone through the case, and you can use your flashlight or heart rate as well while it's closed. But besides that, those are the main features about it. You can read your text messages and all that kind of stuff. I don't think that Samsung introduced anything new with the S View cover this time around because they were focused on the Clearview, which is then delayed. So then what the heck? But my problem always with the S View cover is the screen gets dirty, and then I get irritated because then my photos don't look as good when the S View cover is there, and then it's just a whole mess. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the S View covers personally. I prefer just regular case like this, and simple, easy, and it works on the Edge. So those are the kind that I approve. That's one I'm reviewing this week from Spec. Actually I have it right here, a candy shell grip case. Very, very good case for the Edge, and yes, I will be showing lots more. Lots of things to review this upcoming week. You're going to see some OtterBoxes, some Spigen, some Spec cases, all these kind of accessories. So lots of accessories, even a cool Logitech keyboard. So lots of stuff, accessories reviewing over this week. Plus, we got the HTC M9 in, so we will be starting to do those comparisons as well. All right, guys, thank you for watching. We did go a bit longer today than normal. Thank you, as always, for watching. Please give a like, thumbs up down below. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.